Hey everyone, it's Allison here with New Little Life. I'm an internationally board certified lactation counselor, a nurse, a doula, and a mom of 3 little boys. Here on the New Little Life podcast, we'll talk with real moms about their breastfeeding experience, the good parts and the bad, and share real and practical advice about breastfeeding. Connect with and learn from other moms and professionals to help you meet your breastfeeding goals. Hello again. This is the 5th episode of the New Little Life podcast, and I'm really happy that you've made it this far with us. 5 episodes may not seem like a lot, but that's 5 more than we did in 2020, so that's something. Today I've got a great interview to share with you from Alexis, who is a naturopathic doctor and mom of 1, very soon to be mom of 2. Actually, since I've recorded this interview with her, she's had her 2nd baby, and a very big congratulations to her. She's going to be talking to us today about her experience breastfeeding her first, especially with her unique medical training, and also how she's prepared for her 2nd one after having already done this once before. If you'd like to connect with her, I've got a bunch of her information down in the show notes. Before we get started today, though, I just wanted to remind you that New Little Life has an online breastfeeding basics course that is available for you and can help you get started on the right foot. So if you're planning to breastfeed soon, or even if you have already started and you just want a better understanding of breastfeeding, I'll leave a link down for you in the show notes. It's basically the class that I would teach you if you took a breastfeeding class from me in real life. So now, especially where many of us have COVID restrictions and things that make it difficult to take an in-person class, this might be a good option for you. So I will leave it down there for you to explore. Okay, we've got a lot to learn from Alexis, so let's jump into today's interview. Hi, Alexis. I'm so excited to talk with you today. We were just catching up a little bit before we started, and I wish we'd had more time together, but the military had taken us apart very quickly. So I'm excited to chat with you today.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. Can you start out and tell us just a little bit about yourself, your family, what you do? That'd be great.
Yeah. So I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor. So I kind of specialize in natural and holistic health. I'm also a certified lactation consultant. I am soon to be a mom of 2 any day now. It's possible to happen. And I have almost 2.5-year-old. So definitely busy with balancing my own practice. I have my own practice at Strong Foundations Natural Health. That's where I am on Instagram and Facebook, as well as my website, www.strongfoundationsnaturalhealth.com. I'm also a host of a podcast called Mama's Munchies and Little Monsters.
Yes, I love it. If you haven't checked it out yet, go listen. It's been really, really fun.
I'm a co-host with my dear friend from school. She's a pediatric naturopathic doctor. So we kind of tag team a lot of different topics, and she goes into depth more on the kiddo side. Sometimes I'll go into depth on the pregnancy, breastfeeding, adult side. And so we've really enjoyed doing that. And so we're kind of, the whole theme is families and moms and kids. And we talk a lot about kind of the foundations of health and diet and all of those natural things. So that's where the mamas, the munchies for diet and little monsters comes from. So
I love it.
And it can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I think most general Google Podcasts, most general podcast platforms. So check us out there. And we also have an Instagram account where we post a little bit more information about the things we talk about. Our last one was on sleep, which is super important.
I just downloaded it. I'm going to listen to it tomorrow while I am cleaning the house in the morning. I'm really looking forward to the sleep one.
Yay. Yeah, we tend to sometimes go with some things that are applicable personally.
Right.
So being late in pregnancy, the pregnancy insomnia kind of kicks in, and all the worries of getting kiddos to sleep there too. So we definitely covered a pretty good broad range of topics in that one. So
that's great. I'll put a bunch of links down in the show notes for the listeners so they can find you. That'll be fun. Actually, just this morning, I was doing the math my little guy is 3.5 months old now, and I was trying doing the math on when the last time I had slept through the night was, because I remember the end of pregnancy, like where you are, there was, yeah,
Yeah, not too much sleep to be had, which is unfortunate since it's your last few precious moments.
right?
Or
Oh my
it feels
goodness.
like that.
It's good preparation for after the baby comes, I guess. I
Yeah, that's what I try to think about. Keep it
don't.
positive.
Well, great. I am really excited to chat with you about your breastfeeding experience, especially with your first one, and especially from the perspective of that you have kind of as a naturopathic doctor, but also a first time mom. I know that just comes with a lot of things too. So, can you tell us a little bit about breastfeeding your first one? You can start at the beginning, right at the beginning with the birth if you want, wherever you'd like would be great.
Yeah. So I definitely was pretty committed to breastfeeding. Obviously, in medical school, we go over a lot of the benefits both for mom and for baby. As a naturopathic doctor, we talk a lot about the health of the gut. And so it's really, in my mind, an important start for a baby to start out on breast milk. So, as a first time mom, I think we kind of head into it a little rosy eyed and feeling like it can just be what happens. I want to do it. It's just gonna flow. Um, Given my education and um, those sorts of things, I knew that there was obviously, some challenges that can come up as a lactation consultant. We went over in my education, we went over all of those things to tackle. So I knew going in, but I think in the back of my head had a thought, like, oh, this is just gonna happen. Um, for the most part, it was not too terrible. My birth, I had my child with a midwife at a birth center, and that went wonderfully. She took to breastfeeding pretty quickly. We, of course, had her breastfeeding seconds after she was born,
Yeah.
at least attempting to. Um, and then a few hours later, we came home, and you're kind of just let free in the
Yes.
breastfeeding realm.
You are.
And, as a lactation consultant in the back of your head, you think, oh, I should know everything I need to know about this. Um, but you don't. No matter how hard you try, it's really hard to breastfeed and make any sort of assessment from this angle.
Yes,
So,
I agree. Mhm.
so yeah, the first 2 days were a little bit rough. We had some latch issues. She was a little bit on the smaller side, so we definitely had some issues with getting a proper latch with her. And looking down, it was hard for me to even assess it myself, even though I knew what I was looking for. So on day two, I believe, well, yeah, day two, I made an appointment with a lactation consultant here, local to me, and went in. And I think it was for the morning of day three.
Yeah.
And overnight from night two to night three, my milk came in, and that made the latching aspect a lot easier. But I still went, and I still got some pointers and some tips on what she could see that needed a little bit of improvement. And she encouraged me. She did a weighted feed. And, from that point on, it just got a little bit easier. So I didn't really have any issues with like cracking or bleeding, but I definitely was starting to get raw. I think if I had stayed on that trajectory, my problems would not have gotten much better. So it was definitely important to reach out, even for someone who knows what they're looking for, and have someone give you some tips and pointers. And then from there, I think um, it went pretty easy from there. My goal was to let her decide when she wanted to wean. Um, so we were going pretty strong still. We had night weaned, and we were doing mostly before bed and before naps. And then I got pregnant. So that was a little bit of a challenge. And we ended up kind of doing a gentle weaning process with her. when I was about 18 weeks pregnant. It just got really sensitive, and I didn't want it to turn into something that I was resenting at all. So, and she took to it pretty well. There wasn't much of a struggle, really. So I think she was also at a place where she was ready to be lightly encouraged. So yeah, we were just under 2 years for my breastfeeding journey with my daughter. So
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah, I love it. So you were already trained as a lactation professional before you had your baby,
yes,
right?
yep,
Okay. And
yep.
had you done some work with other moms and had a little bit of experience in that area? Or were you kind of a newly trained? I can't remember your timeline there.
Yeah, I still was on the more new side, because I had actually finished my training about 3 months before we moved to Oklahoma.
Okay.
So I had not a ton of time under my belt working with others. In the same way, as my graduation while I was graduating and in my clinical work, I definitely was on that site anyway. So I did have some work with supervisors and other doctors, and it's actually fairly common for naturopathic doctors to work with breastfeeding. So
Oh, okay.
we had some supervisors who were well trained in it. So I had done a little bit of hands-on training and those sorts of things before I did my coursework, and then I did the coursework, and then I moved here, and then I got pregnant.
Yeah,
So I did as much as I could beforehand, working with other people, but I was still a little bit newer then.
that's great.
Yeah.
Did you always know you kind of just were going to breastfeed or were you exposed to that when you were growing up as a child or youth, or did your opinions of that kind of change when you were doing kind of your study in naturopathic medicine and stuff like that?
Yeah, I wasn't very exposed growing up, or in my early adulthood, I want to say.
Mhm.
Um, as I went to school, I kind of figured out I wanted to do more women's health and kids, pediatrics, and those sorts of things. So that's where kind of my interest really sprung up. And then because most naturopathic doctors, the profession is almost exclusively women,
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have quite a few friends who ended up having babies either while in school or just before school, those sorts of things. So I was exposed more to it by my friends than necessarily growing up with it.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of later on, I was more exposed than I was early on. But yeah, once we started studying the science behind it and all of the medical aspects, it's definitely, I was sold before, but I was even more sold after
Yeah.
that.
Did you do any prep during your pregnancy, like any classes or, watching YouTube or talking with other moms? Did you feel like you needed a little bit of extra prep during your pregnancy? Or were you kind of like, I'm just going to do this and take it one day at a time afterward?
Well, being the medical nerd that I am, I
Sure.
took it a little bit farther. So I decided that I would use my education, and I have a few books. I have the Breastfeeding for the Medical Professional, and then the
Okay.
Womanly Art of Breastfeeding. So I basically scoured those books in the process of writing a blog post about how to be prepared in pregnancy for breastfeeding.
Oh, cool. That's a great idea.
So I often, when I have something that I personally want to research, I usually kind of transform that into something like a blog post or a social media post or something like that. I just recently did one on stress in how it affects fertility, pregnancy, and childhood
Oh,
outcomes.
cool.
Um, so that's just another example of when I kind of take real life of what I'm experiencing, and I figure other moms are experiencing that too, and I
Totally.
turned it into
Yep.
something else. So that was really the only kind of preparation that I did, was kind of just doing a little bit of extra research and looking at tips and pointers on how to kind of prepare for the breastfeeding aspect of it. Um, And I can go ahead and say the number one thing that I think that is important in preparation is reaching out to resources, finding the lactation consultant that you want to work with. If you can, meet with them beforehand, so you're comfortable with them, whether or not you feel comfortable, with your newborn going someplace to meet with someone, or whether you would rather have them come into your home. But just figuring out where your resources are within your community and having that number on speed dial for when you need it.
You read my mind because I was just going to ask you if you already knew that lactation consultant that you saw. But I'm assuming you did because that was only day 2 that you called somebody.
Yeah. So I had a doula who was wonderful. She came and gave me some advice as well. And then I ended up actually going to the hospital where I did not deliver, and seeing them there as well. So that was, I hadn't reached out to her beforehand, but it was easy to just make a quick appointment, and to go there, and just get a quick second opinion.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. She did great. So I'm really glad that I did that. But yeah.
Yeah, even just knowing who to call or where to go
Exactly.
when something comes up, I think is super important. Just having the numbers or at least the
Yeah,
resources,
exactly. And
Yeah.
knowing that I could go to the hospital and they had a lactation consultant there who would take, appointments. That was definitely something I knew in advance and had on had on hand.
Yeah, I think that's actually really common that you don't actually have to have delivered at the hospital to utilize their lactation services. I think that's really common, but I don't think people know that. Like, oh, they have a lactation counselor over here, but I didn't deliver there. I delivered over
Yeah,
here. But I feel like the lactation department is usually kind of separate from the delivery. I mean, I know they go down and see the delivery people, but you really can just call and make an appointment with the lactation people. They don't care.
yeah,
They're there to help. So
exactly.
that's awesome. Do you remember anything specific that you were told, especially in those early days, your visit with a lactation counselor, something that really made a difference and kind of put you on a better path? Like you said changed your trajectory, I think is how you worded it. Do you remember
Yeah.
any specific advice that you were given?
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones, which not it doesn't ring true for everybody, but I really love the advice that's pretty common, to not give up on a difficult day. So
Ah,
when
yes.
things get hard, don't make that the day that you feel like you need to give up. If you're needing a different solution, or it's really not working for you, or you feel like you've tried everything, or there's a, a wide range of reasons why moms might need to breastfeed less or not breastfeed. If mental health considerations, medications that they might need to take for their own health, those sorts of things. If any of those things are coming up, I just really remind people, don't quit on a bad day. We can get really in our heads and really down. And I know if I had quit on my worst day, I would have definitely not I would have regretted it. I wouldn't have been happy with my decision in the future. So I try to remind people, just don't quit on a bad day. Get yourself to a better day, if you can, and reassess there. And definitely talk about it. I think sometimes moms are left alone to figure all of these things out. And whether that's, talking with your spouse, your doctor, your best friend, talking about these concerns for new moms, and especially around breastfeeding, I think is really important. Um, I'm a strong believer in the fact that we didn't always have to do this all on our own. We've evolved as a human population where we had a community usually around giving birth and having children. And there's a lot of advice and help that comes along with that. And when we're kind of in these isolated pods now, especially now with all of the
Yes.
isolation we're required to do, it's really, really important for moms to reach out, and make sure that they're getting the help that they need, breastfeeding or otherwise.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm so glad you said that because it's it's part of the experience, and nobody is supposed to do this alone or just with your partner who doesn't
Yep.
have a clue about breastfeeding anyway. You know, like you're not just meant to stay at home and figure it out. So
Yeah.
that's an awesome reminder. Speaking of partners, was your partner supportive of your breastfeeding? Were they, I know some dads or husbands can feel a little bit left out, like the mom's kind of doing everything. Do you remember any funny things like that? Or tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, he's always been really supportive. I feel lucky for that. He's always given me whatever space or help I needed to make it work. My final paper for my education for lactation consultant was, excuse me, on the laws and regulations of public breastfeeding.
Oh,
So
cool.
he knew that that being able to that women being able to breastfeed in public without being hassled was really important to me. So funny
Mhm.
little story is that he's always waited for somebody to like give me like say something to me or hassle me in public if while I was breastfeeding because he wanted to see he wanted to see the mama bear come out.
He's been waiting for this to happen.
Yes. And I do remember, like, right when I moved here, when I was still pregnant, the local mall here in Lawton, I guess, had the security had asked a mom to cover up. And
I remember that.
and they
Yes.
did a nurse in, and I was still pregnant, and I was like, I really want to go, but I don't have anything to nurse.
I remember that. Yes,
Yeah,
that was interesting. Yes, yeah, the mom community there in Oklahoma was not impressed that
yeah,
a mom had been asked to cover up or move, who was just feeding her baby. Ah, I had forgot about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he's always been really great with the side of just waiting for somebody to try and say something to me about it.
Have you
Um,
ever had someone say something to you about negative?
no, I
Yeah.
haven't.
I know. I feel like this is a huge fear for moms, and honestly, I have had very little encounters with it as well. Um, I remember being worried the first few times you do that, but
Yeah.
I have only had actually, I'll tell you the other day at the commissary I went and it's super awkward. There's like no place to feed your baby there. And my baby was hungry. It was just me and him. So I went up to the front, like by the registers. There's like benches, but you're facing the registers. It's really awkward. And I was feeding the baby, and this mom comes up and she's like, I've totally been where you are. Can I buy you like a drink or a snack? Like, what do you
Oh,
need? And I'm like, you know what? This is this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to encourage each other. And I'm not a first time or new at this breastfeeding thing, so even if I had caught flack, it wouldn't have bothered me. But I could just picture a new mom sitting there, and to have someone come up and offer such support, I thought was a sweet thing to do.
yeah,
So
absolutely. In the beginning it was really hard, and I tried using covers and all those things, and that just didn't jive well. She didn't like it. I didn't like it.
yeah,
Especially in the beginning, there's too many things to juggle and try and figure out along with the cover for me. So I ditched it pretty early on. That aspect of trying to cover or put something over her. There's a few instances where I did, kind of try to go with that, and that was only for my comfort,
sure.
um, and not for anyone else's comfort. And mostly that was just at work functions of my husband because, I felt a little weird having my husband's bosses being seeing that too a little bit. So I did, attempt to like kind of move to at least a private corner and not be quite as in the open with it at those functions. But that was really the only place where it was like I felt I wanted to be a little bit more discreet. Otherwise, I'm kind of an open kind of an open book,
Yeah.
like this is just as what's happening and it's what's natural. So um
Yeah. You bring
I
up a good point. It doesn't really have to be one or the other. Like, you don't have
yeah,
to be like, look at my boobs, I'm feeding my baby, or like in the corner under a blanket. I mean, it really should be whatever you feel you want to
yeah,
do, you know?
yeah, it's
I
like
Mhm.
your assessment of the situation, but it should always be the choice of the mom, not somebody else who might feel uncomfortable about it,
Sure.
who's a stranger, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that was kind of my public breastfeeding journey.
Right. Have you done anything different to prepare this time around for your second baby? Do you think you'll do anything differently, especially in the early time? I'm curious to know the second time around how you're going to do things a little different.
Yeah. So I think in all things with second babies, I have this vision in my head that things are just going to be exactly the same, which I
Yeah.
know is not always the same. Two breastfeeding journeys can be completely different. Two babies can be completely different. So I trying to kind of forcibly open my mind to things being slightly different. So with my first, since I was able to be mostly at home with her, I didn't have to use really an electric pump for much. I did use a hand pump as well as a Haka to have a little bit of a stash in my freezer for when I needed to go out, and my husband fed her with a bottle. She did take a bottle and go back and forth pretty easily, but it was never really something we relied upon too much. So this time I busted out my electric pump, made sure it was still working since I never had actually even used it. Made sure I still had the manual so I could figure out what all the settings mean in case I needed it. And then, just made sure that the tools I was used to using, my hand pump and my Haka, and those things were still in working order and could still be used. Um, and then yeah, just kind of getting the products together that I liked using, my nipple butters and
Yeah, yeah.
all of those things. And last time what I had done is I had like a little diaper caddy with stuff in it that I kind of took with me wherever I went.
Yep.
And
It's a great
so
idea.
getting that stocked up this time, I have most of it like right next to my bed, since I realized, it's mostly happening there for the
Yep.
first couple of weeks anyways. So I've got like my little breastfeeding station set up right at my bed. Yeah, I think that's kind of mostly it, just making sure the things and the tools that I might need are there. I did have nipple shields and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, the collecting cups
Yeah, yeah.
as well. So like getting those set and ready, making sure that I have the tools that I use if I get a clog or anything like that, which I never had to deal with before. Thankfully, knock on wood.
Right. Yeah.
I was not challenged with those, but making sure if I needed them that they were there, and that I didn't have to wait 3 to 4 days with Christmas shipping on Amazon
Right.
for things to
Yeah.
get there when you need them. So that's kind of the extent of what I've done with preparation this time.
Second time around. I love
Yep.
the little caddy idea and just like all your breastfeeding stuff, because even if you're not using supplies, I can guarantee you've got like some nursing pads in there
Yep.
and maybe a water bottle and your lanolin or your nipple butter, or just
Yep.
like you're gonna have some little things,
Yes.
and just having something be like, hey, partner, could you run and grab my breastfeeding tote?
Yes.
Is
And
so
things for mom too. Like I've put my chapstick in there. I've
yeah.
got a few like Laura bars or little protein bars
Oh yes, I did that
for
too.
emergency snacks in the middle of the night. Even just little things for me, because you get stuck, like your couch or your bed just has an imprint of your tush for a few
Yes.
weeks, and having
As it should.
yes,
Yeah.
having your little essentials, backup water, whatever you need, having those right at your hand. I remember really, really, really appreciating. My husband didn't quite get very much paternity leave that he was supposed to, so I was
Oh
very
yeah.
quickly on my own. So I kind of had to make do with what I could, and have those things. I couldn't be like, "Hey, someone give me some water." So I had to make sure I had like my little pack, my little snack pack, and my little tools right next to me most of the time. So because those hours just fly by and you realize I haven't moved an inch.
Yep. I
So
remember.
yeah.
You mentioned your freezer stash. How much milk did you usually keep in the freezer, just as you exclusively breastfed,
Yep.
so you're not bottle feeding, how much milk did you like to have in your stash?
So I kind of didn't really have a goal or any guidance. In the beginning, I did pretty well overproducing. I mean, it is overproducing because it was extra beyond what my daughter needed. So every day I had anywhere from probably 3 to 6 ounces extra on top to put away. I didn't do it consistently. So I think I did it maybe for the first 6 months. So this is an interesting story. So, anyways, I had quite a few ounces. And like I said, my husband worked most of the time, so I didn't really have reason to use a ton of it.
Okay.
Um, but I did have a friend who was having trouble with her breastfeeding journey. So it actually happened before all of my milk expired. So I was actually able to give all of what I had to her for her son, which
Oh, I love that.
yeah, I did a few donations, kind of a little bit earlier, around 6 months. I donated a few kind of Ziploc bags full of the 3 ounce storage bags. So I did donate a little bit there, and then I had probably like 4 or 5 of the big gallon Ziploc bags to give to her in the very beginning when she was still working on building her supply and those sorts of things, which is a big thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't really think about the donation aspect with my first. I kind of, I just there was something about the prepper in me. I just wanted to have like a little stash just in case if
Sure.
something happened, if I got sick or something like that. I wanted to make sure that she at least had breast milk for a little bit longer, if I couldn't be exclusively feeding her at the breast. And that's actually something I'm thinking about this time is being able to build a little bit more of a stash, being able to donate a little bit more to moms in need. Because if the journey goes the same way, I think I can be someone who produces extra beyond what my daughter will need, and then be able to help other families and babies.
Oh, that's so great.
So
That takes dedication and commitment too, because not only are you feeding the baby, you're expressing the extra. And most of the time, if you just don't express the extra, I feel like your milk just kind of regulates out, and
yeah,
eventually you just make what your baby needs, which is what your body is supposed to do. So,
yeah,
but for someone who wants to do what you're doing, and first of all, have a little stash, to be a prepper there, but then also willing to donate the extra, I think is a really cool goal and really cool thing to do if that's something you're able to.
yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. It's like if I'm able to do it, I wanna be able to contribute that much. As a family, we're only having two, so this is kind of my last opportunity
Sure.
to be able to do that and have that to offer someone else. So, um, knock on wood, I'll be able to do that as well.
Right? Oh, I love it. Okay, so I have just a couple more questions for you. Um, First, I'd like to know kind of what the hardest part of breastfeeding was for you, maybe your least favorite part. And then I'd also like to know what the best part of breastfeeding was for you. So let's start with the hardest part, or maybe your least favorite.
I think those 2 days were really rough.
The first two?
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting past those 2 days, trying to work on latch. It's so much is a balance of mom learning, baby learning, practice, just repetition. That you know, having your nipples unfortunately be raw and painful is not comfortable. It's not a fun experience. Feeling lots of moms talk about you curl your toes up and you kind of squint your face
Yeah.
and you grin and you get through it, is not the most fun experience. Also, another thing they don't tell new moms is, which is a great thing in the end,
Right?
but is that breastfeeding actually stimulates contractions of the uterus. So
Yep.
newly postpartum, you want your uterus kind of contracting so it can shrink back down to its normal, fist-shaped size instead of the size that it has grown to accommodate a baby. So I remember just like, the combination of the nipples still being really sensitive, and then all of a sudden you get all this cramping when baby starts actually, nursing and suckling. You're just sitting there kind of like in pain physically, and your uterus is cramping, and you just are like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, definitely those first 2 days, and you're waiting for your milk still to come in as well too. So that's another aspect on there. So there's just a lot right in the beginning, I think, that makes it a little bit less pleasant. But I always encourage the moms that I work with, like, just remember those first couple of days are definitely can be rough, and it gets easier from there on out. I think that the best experience is kind of rounding out that 6-month period and like looking at your child that you've completely grown from from your own breast milk and from your body. I mean, it happens in pregnancy, you grow them all from your body, but when you see it in front of you and you have it in front of your eyes, it's kind of amazing, and just like awe-inspiring, really. I was in awe of myself for being able to do that, of being able to grow a healthy, beautiful child up to 6 months, just exclusively from what I'm able to provide her, from my body. So that was a big milestone for me, even though it wasn't like where we were stopping. I just remember that aspect. And of course, I'm excited to introduce food and do all of those things as well. But there's something that's just really loving and wonderful about that moment when you've looked down and you're like, wow, I really did it. So I think it was like right about 6 months, right before we started introducing foods, that I just had this moment of like, this is amazing. I am so grateful and thankful that I was able to do this the way that I had wanted or intended.
It really is a really cool feeling to look at that little human, like you said, and they have only grown from me up until this point.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Just having that tangible thing, and meeting your goals too. You hit 6 months, and that wasn't where you planned on stopping, and you kept going anyway. But just kind of celebrating those little milestones along the way, I think, is a really awesome way to just keep encouraging yourself and really just be appreciative for, it doesn't, not all moms breastfeed that want to. So just being grateful, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would tell a new mom who's planning to breastfeed? And this is kind of where we'll end it today, but if you could just tell a new mom who's listening to this, maybe they're a little worried, maybe they're just trying to get prepared, maybe they're really excited. Can you think of anything that you would tell a new mom who's wanting to breastfeed? Probably a
Yeah.
million things, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I can pick one. I can pick a couple.
Right? That'd be great.
Yeah, I think, the lessons I've learned from my story is just that, it's get the help you need, have that ready. Don't be afraid to ask for help, ever, and get that help. And don't quit on a bad day. And the beginning is definitely rough, but in the end, it's always worth it. So
That's perfect.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, if you can make it through that first week, you should get like a gold star, because
Yes.
it gets better, I promise. If
Yeah.
you're in the first week, you can do this.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely say that one a lot.
You're right. Oh, me too. Thank you so much, Alexis, for taking the time. I know you've got a toddler at home, and I really appreciate you chatting with us
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
really fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm going to put a bunch of links to a few of the things you mentioned at the beginning. I also kind of want to see that blog post you wrote on preparing for breastfeeding and
Sure,
pregnancy. So
I'll
if you
dig
don't
it
mind,
out.
we'll put that down too. That'd be great.
Yes.
You can find out more about what New Little Life and myself is doing over on my website, which is www.newlittlelife.com. And don't forget to leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. So thanks again, Alexis. We'll see you later.
You're very welcome. Bye.